Hello, everybody. It's Wild Man Z here for another installment of my book tour, my library tour for 2022. It's kind of a new thing I'm doing. I'm purely amateur hour here. I'm new to YouTube, BookTube. I don't know what a BookTube is. I hear people calling it that. Clearly, we're using YouTube. I guess when you're doing these videos and you're doing it on books, you call yourself a BookTube. So here's the first book in my tour. It's the Color Encyclopedia of World Art. This was one of my mother's books. It's by Jay Jacobs. It's really cool. I was actually flipping through it right before I started this. It's on my shelf here. I don't know much about art. I had a book of art by Monet at one time, and I don't know where it is, but I like art when I see it, but I have very little education in it, and this is a really cool thing. I'm going to flip through it. Here's some nice paintings by Goya. Let's take a little quick look at that one. That one is called the 3rd of May, 1808. I don't know what happened on the 3rd of May, 1808. Does anybody know? I'm not sure. Uh, there's a portrait by Goya. It's nice. That's called Goya, Donna Rita of Barchanice, Marquesa de la Solana, and Contessa. Okay, she was an aristocrat. We know that about her. But this is something that I should use to culture myself. It's bad enough that I sound like a Brooklynite, but I'm not. I'm actually on Long Island. But people tell me I have a pretty strong accent. They always ask me if I'm from Brooklyn. I'm not from Long Island, but we have a similar accent, I guess. At least if I get myself cultured, I'll sound like a tough guy who had a little art education, a little culture. Here's a really cool book. It's the Princeton Encyclopedia of Birds. I'm an amateur bird watcher, and I'm very enthusiastic about ornithology. As a matter of fact, when I was a teenager, I took a mail order course from Cornell in ornithology, and that's about it. In college, I did take some biology, but I was a chem major, so I didn't go too far in that. But it's really beautifully illustrated, and beautiful photographs, both drawings. So here's looks like some sort of shorebirds here. What are they called here? Coursers. Not sure what they are. They're obviously not American. Those are drawings, and the photographs are really nice here. Oh, here's some beautiful macaws. Beautiful photographs. These type of books, this is sort of light on the biology, but just heavy on the field maps, the range maps, I should say, and the basics about the birds. It's not a lot of structural features. It doesn't look like. I got this a few years ago and I did look through it. It's just really cool if you want to read up on a group of birds. As an American, I know a lot about birds on the eastern United States. But when you come to African birds and birds of Asia, the tropical birds, God, there's so many. I don't know anything about. I don't even know if that's pronounced pitas or pittas, but they're certainly cool looking little birds. Um, Not sure where they're found. It looks like they're found both in equatorial Africa and Asia. So this has always great when they have the maps. The red is their range. Yeah, a bird book without maps in it is kind of useless. I like to see where the birds are found. Here's a colorful book. Nothing to do with birds, really. 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. I read this a few years ago. This is his most known work, I think. But it's not the first book I read by him. I think the first book I read by him was, I want to say, Autumn of the Patriarch, which is written with just a lot of, like, one sentence will be two paragraphs. It's about a dictator in some imaginary South or Central American country who's a madman. And it's, magic realism, I would say. Really beautiful cover. And then the second book I read by him was Love in a Time of Cholera, which was a much more tractable book, understandable. This one's really cool. There's a lot of people with the same name in this book, and it takes place in an imaginary country again. And I remember the intro is really cool. It describes how as a boy he had seen somebody come to his village from the outside, sort of a magic man or a shaman, and he was maybe part of an act, and he had ice in his mouth. And this was prior to refrigeration. He had traveled across the jungle with ice cube in his mouth. So we have that magic reality element kicks off. There's a lot of people dying at funerals, turning into butterflies and ascending to the heavens. And it's the kind of book I handed to my friend. Gave one of my friends Rushdie's Satanic Verses for Christmas one year because he said he was wanted to see what was so controversial about it. And he's like, didn't understand it at all. So Magic Reality is an acquired taste. Oh, here's a nice chunky one. It's heavy. This is John James Audubon's Birds of America. It's well worn. This is a book I probably looked through hundreds of times as a child. My mother gave it to me one year for Christmas. I was very young when she gave it to me. I have to be careful with it. It is kind of old. She kept it, thankfully. She passed away a while ago. Here's some warblers. Hopefully I'm getting this in there. I like Audubon because he made an effort to put the bird sort of in a natural posture. I believe he shot a lot of them, but he tried to pose them naturally. And then he often, not always, tried to pose them by plants, if they were like a bird found in forests and so forth, by a familiar plant. Here's some sparrows. They look like Lincoln sparrows, I believe they are. He always has a perch. Sometimes he'll be eating a bug or a spider or something. He'll try to capture behavior. He was a really, really cool naturalist. I know, back in the day, a lot of people frown on it because he shot the birds that he painted. But, that's sort of how people did it in the old days. It's not an excuse, but that was the time. Teddy Roosevelt, people criticize him because he wanted big game hunts. But, boy, that man helped us out a lot with the national park system and putting a value on animals, even though he certainly hunted a lot. But I think in his older age, he realized that he didn't have to shoot all those animals. Here's a book. It doesn't have a glossy cover, but it's the Birds of Prey of the World. This is an old one. Another one I got when I was a kid, maybe in the 70s. And it's all black and white. No, it does have color in it. And it's... I don't know what type of horse. It's a Fergus rough-legged hawk. Beautiful photographs. Some sort of an owl. Not sure what it is. I have to read, but hopefully you can see that. I see a lot of owls around here. I see screech owls of at least 2 color morphs. And barn owls are over here. I see great horned owls. And then somebody else. I think he's either a short-eared owl or a long-eared owl. But there's a lot of black and whites in here, and the black and whites are cool too. I like the black and white photos. Harpy eagle, he's eating some sort of a rodent, looks like. There's another close-up. I think that's a harpy. Really good diagrams showing you like different structural features. It's a good book. This was one of my probably a birthday or a Christmas present when I was a kid. I've kept it. My mother kept it after I was in college. I didn't take any of my books with me. Here's a stack of To Be Reds that was on top of that cabinet. A lot of these I got as watching Steve Donahue and other shows, other channels, getting recommendations of books and from them, not directly, but just from watching the videos. I pay attention to write down notes. It's threadbare. It's got a torn cover, but I got it for like $1 or $2 on Thrift Books. Anthony Burgess's Earthly Powers. I hear this is a really good book. I only read by him Clockwork Orange in one of his translations. I think it's Cyrano de Bergerac I showed. And, I didn't like Clockwork Orange. It was funny because in that time period I was reading a lot of like Brave New World type of books, 1984, Animal Farm, all those guys. And for some reason, Clockwork Orange didn't stick with me. So I'm going to give this one a try. Hopefully I'll like it. This is another one. I think this was a Steve Donahue book that he talked about. Never heard of it, but it was about Satan undergoing psychoanalysis, and the title of it is Satan, his psychotherapy and cure by the unfortunate Dr. Kessler, JSPS. So it sounds like it's inherently comedic, dark comedy type of thing. So I'm curious to read it. Steve Donahue seems like he has a pretty good taste in books. I got a few little peeves with the guy. He's always comparing science fiction and fantasy, saying they're essentially the same thing, which they're not, of course. He always slams Marvel Comics, and I'm a Marvel guy. I'm a Marvel Marching Society type of guy. Here's a book, another one of these ones that you don't want to be reading, but you should read, How Democracies Die, by Stephen Levitsky and Daniel Ziblatt. I'm not too familiar with who they are, but I know that they're on CNN all the time, and it seems like a book that got good press. Here's another one. This is my last one for today. This is Patrick O'Brien, the Post Captain. I read the first book, Master and Commander, and so I'm going to read this one in the very near future. On that note, I'm running out of time here. I hope everybody has a good day, and make another video tonight or tomorrow. I'm out. Take care.